The Prince of Persia. A game series so varied and so divisive, but for the most part so good that it melted my face as a child. Before Assassin's Creed, before Dying Light or Mirror's Edge, it was hard to get a game that focused on free running or parkour. Before you would go outside, climb a tree, you'd fall and you'd die. The original 1989 version was a 2D platformer action game. You would fight enemies, jump onto platforms and pretty much just avoid traps, but it was pretty gosh darn cool. But could it be topped? Could there be a game out there better than the original? Of course there could be, and that's when we got Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. While the first game focused on a 2D platforming style, the new one focused on the same thing, just in 3D. It was fast-paced action, had parkour elements mixed within and had a good mix of story. While later games would have people question the series, the original still stands as one of the greatest PS2 games ever. It was stunningly beautiful, and had a well-crafted premise. As a kid back in 2003, I picked up this by accident, and accidentally loved it. I never played a game like this before, and after the original trilogy, I never did again. I remember being so focused while playing it, and loving the trial and error style, but that doesn't mean it has no flaws. Today, I'm going to be looking at the HD version, because it's actually even better than the original, and it's easier to record. So let's take a look at the game known as Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time.
See how he rides, like a warrior son.
The main protagonist of the story is the prince, an unnamed prince, who is part of his father's army as they attack the Maharaja's city, with the help of the city's own vizier. The prince, who is really eager to impress his father, does not want to impress him with violence, but instead makes it his mission to find the Dagger of Time. He is successful in his mission and impresses his father. The vizier, however, wants the dagger for himself, as he was promised one prize. The prince's father, however, does not want to deny his son a souvenir from the victorious battle. The vizier is also denied in taking a giant hourglass. But why? I mean, he doesn't look evil. I think he looks fine. He's evil, right? The prince and his father take the women as slaves and bring the hourglass as a gift to the Sultan of Azad. The really good guy vizier convinces the prince to plunge the dagger into the hourglass, even with the objection of the lady in the crowd. Come on lady, you had 40 seconds to say no. Were you sleeping the whole time? This lady's name is Farah, daughter of the deceased Maharaja, but even she couldn't stop the catastrophe that was ready to be unleashed. A curse is placed on the people of the palace of Azad, and they turn into zombie-like sand creatures. The vizier attempts to take the dagger from the prince, but the prince refuses. Why don't you fuck off, maybe? Yeah, fuck off. The prince attempts to catch up to Farah, who in the previous scene ran away. Come back, Farah! I'm just the guy who robbed and killed all of your people. Stop overreacting! Farah! Catching up to Farah, the prince discovers at will he can command the flow of time to move it back or slow it down. When Farah and the prince meet, the prince discovers his father is one of those creatures. The prince must put an end to the torture of his father, and he kills him. The prince now knows of the location of the hourglass, and Farah knows how to reverse what has been done, and they both head for the Tower of Dawn. The story is actually pretty interesting. This was before the story-driven era had taken place, but yet so much in here is being told. It makes for a decent motivation to why they are not just trying to escape the palace. They want to reverse time to go back to a time when both their lives were still intact. Both Farah and the prince also tell a great love story. It's not like a rom-com, it's more like a subtle story. And it's played out through how you play, not just through cutscenes. I actually find a lot of value in emotional stories that are not bogged down with over-the-top cutscenes. There's nothing fed to us, which is good, because it doesn't make me feel stupid. The game feels like it's telling its audience, you're not stupid. You can understand this by yourself.
It's beautiful. Come on.
Unlike its original predecessor, which was a brutal 2D platformer, where a trap could kill you at every turn. Sands of Time is a 3D platformer where a trap could kill you at any turn. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities between the two, but Sands of Time innovated the original concept. Along with just simple jumping, the game added free running elements, which involved running along walls and performing death-defying jumps over massive drops. I always get excited when I get to do these parts. They're just so much fun to perform and to see. It's exhilarating. Running on a wall and jumping off onto a platform, it's just so much fun. If you fall during these segments, you can turn back time with the Dagger of Time. But to do this, the dagger must have sand in it. To obtain sand, you kill enemies, take their sand, or take a sand reserve. The turning back time is an example of good game design. This is a feature that is really needed in these type of games. Another aspect of this game is fighting. The combat in this game can be good and bad. You use your sword and dagger mixed with parkour to defeat your enemies. The dagger slows down enemies and makes them vulnerable, and the sword knocks down enemies or cuts them in two. You can also block using R1, but I didn't use it that much. The combat is actually really good and I found myself enjoying many aspects to it. Harvesting an enemy's sand is so satisfying, and jumping over enemies makes me feel like a badass, but that doesn't mean the game doesn't have problems. The terrain and camera angles can also block you at some points, which is actually kind of frustrating. At some points, enemies will surround you, and sometimes it's 4 enemies that can't be jumped over because they knock you back down, which means you can't escape. And sometimes Lydia gets in the way. Why did I say Lydia? I mean Farah. I meant Farah. Puzzles are also a major part of the gameplay in this game. You have some of the coolest solutions to puzzles in Sands of Time. Some of them are simple and some of them are just so downright insane. But here again, Lydia gets in the... I mean Farah. I meant to say Farah. Okay, look, they both get in the way, but I can't Fusroda Farah. I've tried. All in all, the combat, freerunning and puzzles are all pretty good. The parkour has to be the highlight. I just love it so much. Playing the game is so fun because of it. I also got a sense of accomplishment after defeating the puzzles and the stunts. Despite a few problems, playing the game is actually really enjoyable. The HD version of the game is absolutely gorgeous, and it's not really unlike the PS2 version. The series in fact has always been really pretty. Even the reboot has some gorgeous moments. In Sands of Time, there are some areas that would actually shock a PlayStation 2 owner. The underground waterlogged areas are actually so eerie and feel so cold just by the look of them. The higher up areas of the palace are actually breathtaking. And oh my god, the bird cage.
It was the Sultan's zoo.
Thanks, Prince. Thank God you're a zoologist. I thought it was a freaking moose cage. The character design of the game is from the PS2 era, so I wouldn't expect much, but the models do stand out, and in some points they actually look amazing. They capture so much with the character design, however, getting across so much personality in just one person. Look at the Vizier, he looks fantastic. The voice acting holds up so well. Yuri Lowenthal, in my opinion, is the only person who can play the Prince.
I saw my father turn to sand. Your traitorous Vizier used the same words.
How did you do that? Right. And you being able to do magic isn't anything to do with why they're trying to kill us.
No offense to the other guys, he just sounds way more authentic and less college bro style. The music is almost absent unless it's a cutscene or a battle scene. The music has an authentic feel and fits the scenes well. Guys, you can call me biased, but I think this game just gets a lot of things right.
And there it lay, just out of reach, the Dagger of Time. There was a treasure I could carry with pride as a trophy of our victory.
So the quest for Farah and the Prince is to make their way back to the Tower of Dawn, to revert time back to when before this all happened. Along the way, Farah and the Prince's relationship feels like it has developed. He is growing to love her, but still sees her as a foolish girl. She is growing to love him, but still sees him as a murderous soldier. They both feel as they can't trust each other. The Prince continues to see visions of Farah betraying him, and when he wakes up and sees her trying to steal the dagger on more than one occasion, his trust continues to be destroyed. Farah steals the dagger and makes her way to the Tower of Dawn. It is here where she meets her end in an attempt to reverse time. From an illness known as death, the Prince is devastated that he couldn't help. But guess who shows up? Gooder McGooderson, who tries to steal the dagger once again. Drats, I should actually try taking it. instead of asking for it. That might work next time. No, that could never work. I'll ask for it again. The prince plunges the dagger into the hourglass and reverses time itself to right before the attack on Farah's city. Luckily, the prince is near Farah's palace, and the prince sneaks into Farah's room and tells her the whole story. She has no memory of it, so she dismisses the story. But just then, Goody McGoodboy Pointybeard McLarson Head shows up and leads to a pretty fun boss battle that's not too hard and not too easy. In fact, this is kind of the only boss battle in the whole game bar the fight with your father, and it actually works pretty well. It's shocking to actually see a boss fight in this game. The prince now defeats the vizier and saves the city from being sacked, as it was the vizier's job to signify when the sacking would start. She still, however, does not believe him and doesn't know anything about him. This is the first time she's met him, in fact. But he kisses her anyway? And thus ends Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. It's a gorgeous game with vibrant colours, and it accomplishes so much with little resources. The HD version and the PS2 version are both fantastic games, and I kind of urge you to go and buy them or even take a look at them if you want. The combat can be frustrating at times, but is really fast and really fluid and has a lot of interesting components to it. It's just fun to harvest, stand and maneuver around enemies to kill them. The puzzles are actually not irritating. They are really refined and fun to figure out. And the parkour, I mean, come on, it's the parkour. I don't think any game has done it better yet. It's exciting to run on the side of walls and jump in between two platforms. It's so well put together in each segment. I think it would be criminal for me to give this game a low score. I was thinking 80%, or 78%, or 85%. But no, I'm gonna give this a 90% on the nostalgia scale. For holding up so well, and making a smooth transition to HD. Guys, this has been the Calvicade. Thank you for watching.